deuxième fois, il a eu son cancer, le médecin lui a dit la prochaine fois, je vous opère pas si vous continuez de fumer. Alors il a arrêté. Mais vraiment.
Hello. How are you all doing?
Hello again.
Good to see you, Panos. So I just realized my laptop is about to die. I'm in a room and I've been using it for video conferences. I'm going to walk a couple desks away and grab a power supply. I'll be right back.
No worries. No worries. I'll be waiting for you.
Sounds good. All right, I'm back. And Yogesh has had some issues. And so he warned me that he might not make it today, but he's pretty excited about some stuff we've been working on. So I'll ping him one quick time before we get started, but otherwise we'll just jump in. So let me give him a second. And we are working on OCP Global Summit slides. One of the things we're trying to do is talk about the impact of fault management because there's a lot going on. But it's a weird day. I think so hopefully folks are able to make it, but let's see. Okay, so I guess what we'll do is he wants to look at the slides, and one of the things Yogesh said is he wants to work on one or two slides to highlight coverage and impact of hardware fault management efforts. And we'll submit the final on Monday and make minor tweaks based on feedback that we get. But basically, what he's saying is the impact statement is something like, hardware fault management, setting the direction for industry fault management by way of creating a common framework. This framework encompasses vendor and platform agnostic methods for various data center hardware fault management based on existing standards. RAS technology domains are included but not limited to memory, FM, accelerators, GPU RAS, and uniform in-band OOB RAS interfaces, RAS API, injection methods, IORAS, etc. So I'll paste that in the chat, and then I'll show you kind of some things that I'm thinking.
Drew, by just hearing of what you spelled, I would challenge to reconsider one word. Rather than calling them agnostic, call them inclusive. So rather than being vendor agnostic, like being vendor.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, and he asked me to capture he asked me to capture feedback, so thank you. Okay, so
Because what we're trying to do here is build an ecosystem, not just try to flatten everything. Like, it will be a common standard, but not try to flatten it so that everybody has to obey by that standard, but like be inclusive and let all vendors, all users have their story on that platform.
yes, thank you. I totally agree with you. I've taken a note. And so I pasted that in the chat. And then I want to show you a couple of slides. So I guess, yeah, and does anyone else have any concerns with what I pasted? That was excellent feedback. Okay, so what I'll do, and by the way, the database listing, so we are in the requirements document is now officially listed as a contribution. I'm super excited about it. This is like, what, how many years have we been working on this? So I'll paste, yeah, I'll paste the link. So I pasted the
Yes.
link. Take a look. We did it. We we agreed to stuff. We figured stuff out. This is awesome. So thank you.
Thank you.
Really good news. So anyway, hopefully that helps. And then I'm going to pull up some more slides that I think are one of them you've seen before. And if I can get it to come up. Okay. So give me just 1 second. I'll share. But anyway, so really good news. So hey, Vilas, thanks, and Rama. I was just celebrating that we've made a contribution and it's official.
Drew, one quick comment. I just saw it, and looks like something looks funny in the search and on the OCP portal. It says pack. Have you seen that? I think Drew, you are on mute, or maybe I'm mute. I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Okay, it was me.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, Vilas.
I was just going to say I can hear you, Anil.
Oh, okay. So Drew, if you want to flash the OCP portal, or maybe if you want, I can flash it. There's something funny. You may want to take a look at it.
Yeah, I'll flash it if you want, or you can, either way.
No, go ahead. Since you're already sharing.
Let me put that up and share this tab instead. Yeah, it says spec here, so we need to ask about that.
I think the OCP file management special requirement should be green, like gold. There's something messed up in that display.
Yeah, the format is funny. Okay, I'll flag that. Yogesh did the heavy lifting here to work with the OCP folks to get it done. I think it's just a formatting problem. I think they should replace the word spec and highlight. Yeah, they should just highlight this in green, right?
Mm-hmm. And by the way, is there any reason there's only one logo here? Because I've seen some contributions where, all the logos are there.
Yeah, they listed it here, but there were problems. So basically, Yogesh drove this. I didn't. So it wasn't me. But
No, I'm not
basically,
blaming anybody. I'm just questioning. That's it.
what happened was there were companies that hadn't gone through the review process, I guess. If John's here, he can maybe explain it.
So OCP Foundation is a little new to this, so I've actually fixed a number of postings already, and this will just be another one on my list to fix because it doesn't have revision number on it. Yeah. at all.
Yeah, that's
So exactly. So thanks for pointing this out.
Yeah, thanks, Anil. I think the logo thing was, there was a concern that some of the other companies didn't like have the full approval process or something, and Google did. So
and I don't know if in the contribution entry there's actually a place for the logos, and if they weren't placing the logos there in that in the entry, then they weren't placed up here. So I'll go find out exactly where he gets the logos from, but that may
well,
be
John, can you just tie off with Yogesh, because he drove this, and I don't want to step on anything he did. So yeah, if
oh,
you know.
absolutely. I'll make sure he's CC'd.
Yeah.
And maybe like what maybe Anil is different. If it go a little bit below, like there are some examples where yeah, and then like multiple companies.
Yeah.
And it looks like feature works, but I think maybe there's a process. Yeah.
You know, I think that there were some of these companies may not have, I don't know, done the formal review or something, but I just don't know. So, like I said, I'm just celebrating it. But yeah, I think John and Yogesh can work it out. I'm happy with whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, here's Yogesh, so Yogesh can speak to it. Hey, Yogesh.
What am I supposed to speak to?
So,
Sorry, I just joined.
Yeah, thanks for joining. So I was just celebrating that the spec was submitted and we shared the page. And Neil noticed that it's called spec, and we really probably want to highlight this, you know, the requirements. So there may have been a formatting problem. But he was asking about why is it just the Google logo? And I was deferring to you.
Right. So asked for a primary contribution. Who is the primary contributor? Because basically all of us are contributors, right? But as you can see, you cannot have so many logos there. And I thought it's pretty non-controversial to, have Drew's efforts here recognized. And
Yogesh,
Google.
actually,
Yes.
you're wrong, because if he scrolls down to the example, there's one with lots of logos.
Lots of them. Yeah, I don't know why then I was asked that that who is the primary contributor, and we want to show his logo. So I made the assumption that we probably that's the reason. But if it's controversial, we can have whoever wants their logo shown there. We can have that edit. It's not a problem.
Well, I just think we need to fix the process so we understand what the submission portal entry contains, so that
I
get it
think
done and then we have to go fix it.
Yeah, the thing is, the value of a contribution improves if you have multiple parties, right? Otherwise, people say, it's a Google only, so
Right. Exactly why discussion needs to occur before the contribution, guys. So it's great to have it now, right? But if we had it earlier, instead of making assumptions, we would have gotten it right the first time.
I mean, all the contributors are listed there. Logos are not there. So it's a matter of having the logo up there. It's not really that we are saying Google is the contributor. It's if you can read, all the contributors are listed except for SK Hynix. I've sent a note. I was not able to add it. It's probably not popping up in the list. You can read and let me know if anyone is missing. So it's just a matter of logo. But yeah, sure, if that's controversial to people, then
maybe this is John took an error, right? So let's be consistent, right? I mean, on this portal, if there are no logos and only the listing of the contributor name, that's fine. Then let's make that as a process here. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to have one contribution as logo, another has only one logo, and there's an inconsistency here.
Yeah, it's maybe John, it's a contribution process and Rob Coyle issue. So if you want to take it up with him, I'll appreciate that. Thank you.
I only have one question for Yogesh. Yogesh, did you edit the portal entry, or did someone else edit for you?
No, I added it. That's why you see the list of contributors as all the names there, except for SK Hynix, which was not popping up in the list. And let me know if I'm missing it.
No, it's fine. And you work with Rob to do this?
Rob Coyle, yeah.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Well, it's very, yeah. So I know we have questions, but I'm super excited to see it. We've come a long way. So, thanks, Yogesh, for pushing it through. And so I guess we can tweak it, right? It's a web page. We can.
Yeah.
No,
Thank
thanks
you.
to you, Drew. I
know
think
what-
you did a lot of heavy lifting and groundwork here. So I do really want to appreciate everyone helped and everyone worked also, but your lead was also very helpful. Yes.
So I'm going to show you guys something, and why it can be fixed easier if we have a process.
Go ahead. Should I stop sharing? I'll stop sharing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Okay, you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, this is stuff you guys normally cannot see. This is the portal entry. So when someone has a portal, they actually go in and they create a portal entry, and they can put all this stuff in it. So down here is all the information, right? Who the associate, yeah, that is true. There is a primary contributor, right? But there's all these associate contributors, and then down here.
And John, help me reconfirm. Primary contributor is a single entry. I tried to add more there, but it does not allow that.
Well, if you have if you guys say, hey, there are two primary contributors, and the tool doesn't allow that, we need to fix the tool.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. I do not believe in shoehorning you guys. Right. And the same down here. Right. If this only allows a single logo, then damn it, we gotta fix that too. That's all I'm saying, is that it could be a fault in the tool, and some people,
Well, Rob asked me specifically, so I think
Okay.
I didn't assume that Rob is making an assumption, but
I know, I understand. But to Rob's defense or non-defense, he's fairly new to this position, right? It used to be Archness, used to be Michael's, and it was all handed to him. And when I talked to him, he said he is trying to follow whatever was the same process, whatever was handled to him. Unfortunately, the process is not documented. So
okay,
right. So
yeah,
he's doing his level best, I must admit. But and so that's why I'm checking behind him to make sure he gets it right. And so if there's an issue here, we'll either fix the tool, so we can fix the process, so this doesn't happen again.
Hey, and
so
I pasted the official name of the document into the chat. Can you just fix that real quick so we get rid of that?
I don't know. Again, I do not know what happens after this becomes final, right? After we've gone approval, I don't even know if I can alter this.
Well,
This,
it looks
right?
like
What's the problem with the name? Drew, what was the problem with the name?
It's called, it says spec.
Oh, no, not that name. I think, that's the entry issue. So it's
right.
Okay, I see what happened.
Exactly. That's why in the
place.
log entry, that all it says is spec in the top, and then the title below it. Right. So.
Oh yeah. I don't know how that happened, because I think this was all later. I did copy the exact name in that field, I think. And
yeah. But it says
exactly.
you can. So John, it says you can save it. So anyway, I don't know.
Okay. So the last thing I will show you is the top part, which we're now trying to drive the organization in, which is before the foundation would just approve it, all three of them. And I would say, no, only the project lead can approve this. And this is Hemel or Jeff, right? And only I should be here. Notice I haven't approved this thing yet, right? If I had approved it, I would have gone in and checked all the fields and all the links to make sure people were happy.
Okay.
So this is when, and this is something the foundation needs to fix, which is we can't do this, right? We can't be in such a rush to get a contribution out the door that foundation people are willing to make checkpoints for the SC rep and for the project leads. They're the farthest thing from a subject matter expert on this that we know of. Right. So he has agreed to do this. And as a matter of fact, there was something about to go into the SC presentation, and he pulled it off the agenda because they had not gone through the proper mechanism. So he's trying. So okay.
And I'm sorry to bring up and spend so much time on this topic.
No. I think accreditation is a very important thing that we need, that OCP needs to recognize, right? And if you guys feel slighted in any way, then we have to fix that. It's an easy process to fix. Okay, I'm off.
Okay.
So I'll send another note. I sent a note to Kyle about this. I didn't realize that the spec is in this place. I didn't check the contribution page after he took over. So I'll send a couple of notes. This is not a big deal. We can get it fixed. It just got published today, so I hope it can be fixed quickly.
Cool. Okay. Well, despite the problems, I don't really care about the logo, if it's Google or not. I'm just happy to see it there. And, we did it. So I still think it's a great job, everyone, and really appreciate all the work that went into it. So with that, Yogesh, I also pasted the statement you had in the chat. And Panos gave good feedback. He said rather than saying agnostic, we should say inclusive in your impact statement.
Yeah,
And I think
I was
that's
on mute, Drew. Yeah, I completely agree. Let's celebrate with the coffee or tea when we have a global summit. Need to.
Yeah. Well,
Also on that's a great point. So yes, Panos, I'll take the feedback. But that's a great point. I wanted to discuss who all is coming to the summit. Raise of hands. Who all is coming to the summit?
How do we raise our hand?
Come on, is a thing. It says raise hand.
Oh, it's hidden for me. Okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I have a small screen. I have a small laptop screen here. Yeah.
Okay. Come on, Mark, you can make it this time. I know, Jyoti, you're traveling, so sorry to miss you, but hope to see you next time. Scott?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Sorry. Oh, great. So yes, let's plan to meet there. Last time, I think we did meet in the Marriott lobby, which was a really happy hour, long and happy. No need to discuss further. Couple of times actually.
Let's just say that Yogesh picked up his favorite hat, and Vilas had his drink. So.
Hey, what happens at OCP stays at OCP, Drew.
Sorry.
But I think the outside party is on Wednesday. How about we gather near the Marriott entrance in the front of the building in that party time, and so we can all gather in that area, and we can have our own little happy hour, and then from there, it can go anywhere. I'm not predicting anything.
The get together last time was one of the highlights for me, by the way. So if you can possibly make it, please come. It's a lot of fun. And what's funny is there are only so many of us that understand each other, right? I mean, I can have a conversation, for instance, with Mark Fletcher that I can have with almost no one else in the entire world. And so this is Mark, I'm calling you out, but it's the truth. And I love it. And so, Mark, I really wish you were coming because I'd love to see you. But this will be a lot of fun.
No doubt, but I won't be able to attend. Sorry.
That's a bummer. Maybe next year, or do you think you'll ever be able to come, or do we need to start lobbying HP to send you?
I don't know. I would certainly have to lobby well in advance just so management would know. But I'm, right now I'm just not in a position where I could do it if I wanted to.
Okay.
So, but next year is a different question. We'll figure that out when the time comes. And if opportunity knocks, I'll do the groundwork I need to make sure I get the skids greased in advance.
Sounds great. Yeah, it would be
Actually,
good.
let me propose something. So next year, maybe in Q1, we should organize a hardware fault management group meeting in Houston, one day maybe, where we all get together and talk, discuss, and come up with some more ideas.
That sounds good to me if I can convince people to let me travel. So yeah, sounds good.
I guess your
Mark, I
plane
think
doesn't go that
will
long.
motivate
I
you,
don't
right?
know. I don't know that is easy to get approvals for.
Yeah, it's not easy for everyone to
I think-
ask take up time, but that's a good idea. You know, I'm here. I'll happily do the groundwork, host it, whatever you want me to do. But I think if people are ready to come, sure, it's a great idea to meet Mark. Scott is nearby, so he can come. I know.
Yeah.
So
I'll just have
okay,
to,
we
I'll
are
just have to
sorry.
fly myself. So I'll fly myself, and if someone wants to volunteer to ride with me, I can give you a ride.
There you go. You have a four-seater,
So-
right? Three
Yep.
plus you, 3+1.
All you have to do is to share the gas money, right?
Well, actually, that's kind of tricky. There are rules about that, but yeah, we might be able to do some of that. But yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Well, Yogesh, the other thing I was going to show is the slides that I was working on to get feedback, if that's okay.
yeah, I think you need to do that. Although I have some other ideas, but I think that should still keep the spirit of the presentation intact. So yeah, let's go
Okay.
for it.
So I'll share, and I'll try not to go on mute.
You just did.
I hate that. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
can hear
can hear you now.
Anil, the plan was to never say yes. Okay.
So,
Okay. Yes.
So I think Carlos suggested I add an arrow to the second box here, so done that. But this is the slide I've shown before. It just shows how the different pieces, fit together. The other one I wanted to show is what is fault management's value? And so we're taking actions. We're gathering, collecting data, collecting detailed data. We're decoding the data, analyzing the data, and then large-scale queries of that data. And the result of decoding is we can discover new failure signals in the pile of decoded data we have. The value of analyzing it is that our RAS actions are more effective. We can predict crashes and our repairs are more accurate. And then when we query large-scale data, we can find and mitigate failure trends, and we can share data with vendors and help them improve quality. So, I was just trying to show, like, this is for executive level consumption, but if someone was coming in fresh, they'd say, what is fault management? And I'd say it's, this is a big part of it, is looking at detailed data and figuring out what to do about it. What do you all think? There are a lot of hands up, but I can't tell if it's just because you're coming to OCP or you want to say something about the slide.
That looks so
Anyone?
good to me. In one sentence, the way I position is that hardware fault management is a foundation for large-scale data analytics. For large-scale data analytics.
Yeah, I agree, and that's where what I've been trying to do is explain to executives in Google why they should give me more money, and more people, and this is kind of the high level reason why. And of course, every company's going to have a different rationale, but to me, this seemed like, hey, these are some benefits that seem pretty uncontroversial. But Panos, you have your hand raised?
I think, I'm looking at this picture and there is something missing. I'm not sure
Great.
what is this thing missing, but something, since we're talking about executives, is what are faults? And faults is what kills your TCO. It's what drives your TCO what like kills your efficiency and raises your TCO against the investment you have done in that hardware. But at the end of the day, is
Yes.
the business value, support the business in both extracting the most out of that hardware and the infrastructure you have invested, and also minimize the risk to business from failures, from data mishaps, or outages. So this has to be called out.
Yeah, and I think what you're calling out is like the total end result. It's beyond all
The
of
total end result. All of these actually go into this TCO, and also another factor in the TCO is not just the outages that we are minimizing and the availability of the fleet, is also the amount of human capital spent trying to debug, bring back broken systems. So also the amount of manual effort or random actions that would need to happen to repair the systems can be minimized by having accurate failure detection and fault management.
like in Google, we have a code word for that. Is toil. Like when you're doing something that could be automated and is that a
Yeah, but
more
since this word is very Google specific, I would put it in parentheses like human cost, like or resources or something.
Okay, I'm flexible. I was just using toil because it's a code word internally, but I'm actually happy to put whatever here. I think your feedback is excellent.
I may want to just make a little tweak. Instead of saying eliminate, minimize or reduce. I think eliminate is too strong.
It cannot be eliminated. It's true.
That's true. Your point is well taken. How about this? I like minimize. That's fine. That's our goal. I'll clean this up, but I think that like these, I'll try to clean it up and like these, I'll make it somehow these different, and show that this is the end result. Maybe I'll have an arrow coming out to each box from the process or something. I'll find some way to color code it. But Panos, this was excellent feedback. I think I'd missed the really big picture, which is the end result of doing all of this.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would also add, improving the mean time MTBF is one of the key objectives that we achieve, and this is the only way we can achieve that, in my opinion.
I think this factors into TCO, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is to me, MTBF is TCO related, but like MTBF is a big factor, but for TCO, but then also right, you have to have spares. If you have a part that's failing constantly, you have to have a ton of spares. So MTBF, your spares, your storage space, your data wiping costs, your whatever, all that adds up to the TCO.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'll just kind of clarify something. So at least in our fleet, right, we have all these web server kind of fleet, right, where TCO is associated with that because purely they are like cattle class, what you do that you call class cattle class, right? And then we have these clusters for AI and all that, where we need to make sure the MTBF is also is better because in the cattle class MTBF is not that interesting because we got resiliency in the software. So therefore, TCO and MTBF are two value vectors, at least for us. And even though you can do a lot of TCO improvements, but if you are not focusing on MTBF, then we are missing the boat.
How about we just say better TCO and MTBF then? I'll just put them in the same box because they are related.
Yeah, and nobody else actually talks about MTBF except the fault management because MTBF is mean time between failure directly associated with the fault.
No, I wish we could use FIT instead of MTBF, but anyway, that's another conversation. Yeah, we end up using MTBF because our executives think that they understand what it means. But
it's a nice soundbite, MTBF.
yeah, but it isn't. I mean, like if you think 2 hours, if you have a 1 day MTBF, that means you have a 37% chance of staying up 1 day. So it doesn't mean what people think it means, but that's okay. Well, we're stuck with it. That's why everyone thinks they understand. I like fit.
So I'm sorry, I'm going to contradict Anil, because I think I like it to be as high level as possible. I mean, why leave out MTTR then, right? And it's a slippery slope, right? We start getting into details, then so just my preference. I like to keep it up a little bit higher level.
I think even more high level is actually the return of investment. Like the highest level you can boil all these numbers and all these metrics up to is the return of investment for the equipment. Like the amount of business value, business payload you can run given your investment, your infrastructure overall.
That's true, but there are like existing reports and surveys which say how much of an hour of downtime adds to a typical data center server's cost, right?
Yes.
So yeah, there is that.
So this kills the return of investment, like reduces
Yeah,
the
you're
return
right.
of that investment.
You're
Every
right.
fault, and even more, as Anil says, everything that amplifies into a wider fault in a wider domain is bringing down more of that return, like cutting you off from that return.
Anyway,
so I was trying to call three independent factors, which is one of the return of the investment as measured on the equipment. The other is the impact that some bad data or failed operations can have on your business. And the third one is the amount of human engineering costs you need to pay to keep that thing flowing and working as it should. And I think on these axes, they're kind of independent enough to be called out.
I need to clean up the formatting, but so I'm very flexible. I don't know. I love what you're saying, Panos. So let's figure out what we can agree to. Do people think we should say ROI here?
Drew, I would suggest take some imports and then why don't you just work on offline and
Are you presenting this in OCP or what is the goal of this?
I would like to, well, I'm thinking if we're talking about our impact statement, this is kind of like the big picture impact, right? This is why we do what we do. And what I would like to see selfishly is all of us take this back to our management and get buy-in for our activities so we can do more stuff together. So, that's, I do want to say that. I want to start hitting people over the head with, we do this because it's good for the business.
Okay, yeah, like both purposes you're saying.
Yeah. So I'm trying to help all of us have a performance conversation with our manager. What do? We make your life better. Here's how,
Oh, I thought for some of us this is like extra job. There is a day job also.
Mine are blurred. So, but okay. I'm I don't really care what we put here. I just want to make sure it's something we can all tolerate, because I would like to put this in the slide deck for the main deck if people don't object.
No, this is good. Yeah, I think customer uptime covered and reduced business risk.
I think Anil makes a good suggestion. Sorry, Ram, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please continue.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I know we spent good amount of time. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll clean this.
Anil makes a good point. Take the feedback, and it's a story you're telling. So what is your what works for us? I think as long as we have most of the views covered one way or another, that's all mental state.
Okay, I'll bounce it off a couple people too, internally and get feedback. And the thing I'm going to try to do is clean it up. I don't like these three arrows. I think what I may do is put this in one color box and then show another box here and have an arrow to the other box and say, the big picture result is this, the three things Panos mentioned. This was awesome feedback though. This slide's way better with the feedback, so thank you. Okay, well, that was what I wanted to share. So I'll stop sharing and I'll continue working on it. And Yogesh, I need to turn some slides in today. So I'm going to try to plunk these in the deck and share them and get them, start getting approval. But, I know we have till Monday, so I'll just tell them, hey, there may be some edits on the way to Monday.
Yeah, I think that's good. So I wanted to discuss something. What is our stance on error injection? I saw, Rama just dropped. I saw that GPU RAS requirements is also published, and that has good section on error injection requirements. Even talks about a ban error injection. And so I just wanted to kind of set our kind of plan for next year, because we're talking about a couple of things, right? So there is identifying in-band use cases that need special attention, and how we can make it part of either existing specification or amend the specification, whatever we need to do for that, for in-band inclusion. Secondly, we talked about error injection, and we are still working on it. And thirdly, we talked about, I think, I/O error handling, especially when CXL starts to ramp up. That's going to be even more important than PCIe alone. So, and it's kind of we need to think about system memory aspect in CXL also, and the complexity multiplies. So I think it's a good idea to start on what Drew suggested. And Drew, I don't know if you're talking just like outside of OCP, but I/O best practices, starting with the PCIe base.
So I just pinged the error injection document we had started, and I still need to make a table of all the errors listed in that, and then we start prioritizing and working on what we want. But that was another thread that I wanted to explore. And like when I mentioned it to Rama and Anil, we all looked at PCIe and said, oh, we've been bitten by it, right? We've been bitten by AER being misconfigured and getting errors we didn't want to get. And I've been talking inside Google, and what we realized is that the AER driver in Linux is not well served right now, let's just say. It is not being very actively maintained. We talked to Bjorn Helges, the PCI maintainer, and there's just opportunity to do some work there. And so there's some facets to this. I think one of the things we want to do is say, how do I configure PCIe to make sure that the system comes up reliably? Because at Google, I'm confessing I'm confessing some dirt here. So please be nice to me. But we have these BIOSes that come into us. The BIOS has PCIe set up a certain way. It usually works. It's usually in the ballpark. Sometimes IOMCA is on, sometimes NMI is on, and it usually works. And we go to production and we start deploying the data center, and something blows up and some hero comes and finds the PCI device that's causing the problem and fixes the driver, fixes the BIOS, does some heroics, and we ship it. And we get away with things that companies like Dell and HP and Lenovo couldn't get away with, because we have this gigantic subset. We just pare our cards down to next to nothing compared to some of the server companies. But I think at the end of the day, we all need to configure PCIe so it works well with OSs. And so, for instance, if you take an unsupported request and promote that to NMI, you are setting yourselves up for huge amounts of trouble. And anyone that's worked in PCIe knows that. But when the problems happen with us, we have to scratch our heads and go, well, what did we want UR to do? And so we don't consider that secret sauce at Google. We'd like to hash it out with all of you. We'd like to say, here's how PCIe should be generally configured, and maybe there's some tuning there, but we'd like to just say, here's how we want PCIe to come up and be set by BIOSes, and then we want to extend AER to improve error logging so that we can tie the error logs into our data center infrastructure, and so that we have more flexibility. Because today, if there's a card where I need to, for instance, let's say I have a card and I discover that card doesn't support poison very well, and I need to promote a poison TLP to fatal, or I want to use downstream port containment to prevent the poison from making it out to disk or the network or something. I don't really have a good way to do that in the Linux kernel today. And so we would like to work within AER to upstream some things into the Linux kernel for error logging and for tuning error controls better. We don't consider this proprietary. We don't consider it secret sauce. We are working within the PCIe standard and existing, BIOS handoff mechanisms to just set them the way we want to set them. So that's my pitch for the PCIe thing. And Anil, in the past, you've told me you all are having PCIe troubles too. So I'd love to join forces with you and Rama and others and say, hey, let's make a plan to make life better for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, just again, don't want to share our own dirty laundry here, but as we speak, I am fixing a Linux AER handler issue. Right now, just within our Meta Linux distribution, because we already found a fundamental gap in the AER handler or OSC method, where if you do firmware first, then all the error severity goes to firmware. If you do OS first, then all the severity goes to OS. That's not workable for us. So we need this fine granular severity basis negotiation between firmware and OS. And we came up with a kludgy way right now to implement, because we got to ship the product. Yeah, I would like to add this pain point and also a proposal of what changes we can do in OC method, and then the HPS spec, of course, to make sure that the firmware and the kernel and drivers can be patched.
Yes. It sounds like our pain points are not all that far apart. And so is there any objection to us working together on this?
I don't think, in fact, before we go there, I think, I know Drew and Anil, those are real pain points from in your large fleet, but I think I speak for Mark, Emer, and Scott here. OEM pain points are no different. I mean, they have Mark and Scott speak up for yourselves, but I think you share that view about IO pains in handling errors, right?
Yes.
And Drew, I see that you already created a Google Doc, which is great. And I'm just adding the pain point that I just talked verbally.
Yes, please. So this is what we agreed to last week, and we just said, hey, let's collect our pain points and we'll prioritize them and tackle them. Yeah.
I thought Mark and Scott may have something to add, but let's give them a minute.
Oh, well, by all means. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, I would just, I think my contribution would be, I'm in complete agreement. It's a problem, right? It's a pain point. And I'm not sure that it's, I'm not even sure how fixable it is, right? I mean, there's still some failures that are simply going to be difficult. And, but I guess I'm all for, let's figure out what the best way to manage and handle and, and put that down with the understanding that maybe we're never going to be able to get to 100%. Right?
Yeah. And that's music to my ears, Mark, that you're willing to help on this, because I think you in particular, of a lot of the people I know, have some interesting experiences to share. And so if you could toss a pain point or two in, that'd be awesome, because, I really value what you have to say.
Yeah, let me suggest something more. A few more things. So we, few years ago when we started this work sub project, we had a spreadsheet where we were capturing the OCP pain points, and then we were kind of prioritizing them and picking top 3 to work on. I think we need to reignite that discussion, and maybe right now I think Yogesh and you guys are leading this sub project, right? So it'll be nice to maybe review that, scrub it, add this PCI one there, and then let's just in the next meeting work through a prioritization process and see where, like error injection is one, PCI error handling improvement.
Yeah.
And I think the third one, sorry, Drew, you were saying you added, you suggested one more.
Well, I think there's error injection and PCI configuration, error configurations, and then AER, Linux improvements is where I'm.
In-band. Sorry, in-band. So these
yeah, in-band. I'm sorry. That is something you want to work on, and by all means, yes.
So a couple of things here. Scott, did you want to say something before we move on from the topic?
Sorry, Scott.
No, I'm good. Keep going. I'll put it in the doc.
Are you aligned with PCI as a pain point?
Oh yeah, totally. No, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I mean, if I wasn't, I'd be like, no, we're wasting time here. I mean, it's Friday at 4:51. I'm on this call, right? So yeah. I mean,
that just says
actually, I want to back up. It's Friday. It's 4:51, and it's my birthday, and I'm on this call.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm on board with PCIe, and I am totally on board with air injection. So
my hat's off to you, Scott.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Scott. Hey, Amar, anything you want to add? I know you also have some PCIe challenges and great to have you here from Oracle.
Hey, yeah. I think we definitely configuration is a challenging aspect. Presently, with DPC, we have most of the handling in OS, and we were now trying to see how to move it to the BMC. So we are kind of pursuing some options in that direction with respect to PCIe without involving SMM. So that's something we are exploring right now. But yeah, misconfiguration is always with so many hierarchies of forward propagation with PCI that we have seen in many cases.
Yeah, in my dreams, we'd have a tool that would say, here's the tree, and here are the errors you're going to get. If if any of the standard PCI errors happen in any part of the tree, here's what you're going to see from the root complex, because the whole tree kind of bubbles up to the root complex, and the root complex signals things, and so then what we could do is say, we've got a definition of what we want. We run the tool either matches what we want or it doesn't, and then we know where to go look. And I would run that when I'm testing the system and bringing firmware up, but I would also maybe even run that in the data center periodically on our machines to go, hey, is anyone mucking with the PCIe settings? Because today we have one driver not even one driver. We have one card where something is unmasking something we really don't want them to unmask. And we can't for the life of us figure out who's doing it. And we're doing all this work to figure out who's mucking with this setting.
Yeah, so I think in the last few minutes that we have left, what I wanted to try to get at is at a high level, we have these 2 initiatives, right? We have 3 total right now. FMFM is doing well on its own. So that's great to see. And I'm encouraged by that. And I think what I wanted to really understand was what is the best way for us. So Anil, I agree that having a list of all the pain points and clubbing them together was the next step, right? So next step, what I'm trying to do here is, do we want to work in this one call alternating between the 2, or do we want to, I think it's more effective if we consistently work on one thing and call it done and, contribute it, rather than working on 2 or 3 things simultaneously. But error injection makes a little bit of challenge because of GPU RAS. We had to figure that out. And I think some of this PCIe work, especially recovery related, may be better seated in OS arena and maybe more closer to in-band use cases. So I may be stretching it a little bit, Drew. What do you think?
Well, I think we can sort that out, and it may be that we have a few people that want to go off and tackle, you know, like make a first pass at a proposal that we, you know, all take shots at and fix. But or we may want to have sub teams, but we can only be spread so thin. So if we can divide and conquer, we may want to go off and work on proposals and come back to the group too. I don't know. I think we kind of have to collect all the pain points and prioritize them and figure out what we're working on first to figure out.
I think that's true. We need to keep collecting, adding to that list, but we also need to prioritize and contribute. And I think the contribution for error injection is going to be some kind of requirement after we settle on, okay, these are the areas which we want injected at, and it does make sense to do it without, you know, opening your your data center wide to security threats of any sort, right? So we have to do the analysis and contribute those as a requirements. But I think the best practices for in-band, we have to see how those pan out. I'm assuming it might be a revision of our existing contribution, next version of the contribution that we made today. So that's that. And now about the IAO best practices, I think that might be best suited for a white paper, and maybe we can start along those lines if everyone agrees.
I mean, the outcome of that could be multiple things, right? Let's first, I think as Drew just mentioned, right? Let's list all the things that we all want to work on next year, and GPU we should add GPU also, and put them in a priority order. Okay, so that way we can kind of at least collectively decide that, okay, you know, let's tackle on this first because that's the collectively most important one to work on. They all are important, but which are more important to work right away.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, it may be a spec. It may be that we agree that we want some open source software. I mean, who knows? It depends on the problem, right?
Yeah. So for PCI, you know, few things will work out from there, right? One is, of course, the white paper. Yogesh, you're right, and we should have best practices, right? The second is some of the existing spec updates. For example, this ACPI spec where the OSC method is defined, or it's not. Yep. It's a PCI firmware. Sorry, PCI firmware spec. Is it PCI firmware? PCI SIG firmware. That's right. That's where the OSC method is defined. Yeah. Right. So there's some changes required there. So we need to push those changes. There's a Linux AER driver patches that we need to push, develop and push.
Same for ADR. Yeah. Same for ADR.
Yeah. So there are multiple things will come out from there.
So yeah, what I was thinking, and it was exactly what that I was thinking, right? So once we have, OCP does not propose changes, but once we outline the problem and gaps, highlight the gaps, then we can pass it on to our respective companies, PCIe and other representatives, and that could be put it as you know, ECR.
Yeah, I agree. But I guess it would help if we could agree on what we want the ECR to look like, and then we figure out, you know,
that should be the change needed should be part of the white paper. Which yes, what is the gap and how we propose to fix it, right? Okay. We should. Jyotika, you have your hand up. Sorry.
Hey, Anil, thanks. Sorry, I just had a quick question. So the current document that's in review that you sent out the link to, is that going to be released as a white paper, or what is how will that be published?
Well, one of the first document I sent at the beginning of the meeting is published, and it's a requirements document. The Google Docs we've been sharing are just our working docs right now, so they're works in progress.
I see. Okay, thanks for clarifying. So that first one, the one that's published, was published as a white paper thing?
Yeah.
Got it. I see.
It-
Sorry
yeah,
for the
in
noise.
fact,
I'm on the airport, so there's.
yeah. In
someone
fact,
else
if you look at the link there, that you had, right? If you go one level up, if you have access to the drive itself, it is in the folder that we call working document, right? Or work in progress.
Yeah, the Google Docs. The Google Docs are works in progress. Yes.
Yeah, so there we kind of created different folders, and in the work in progress folder is where there is also the pain point spreadsheet where we have been listing various pain points. And there's some background noise.
Yeah, it's the airport noise. We're hearing it, Jyoti.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'll go mute.
No worries.
So since you're coming on as you're coming on board, Jyotika, maybe you want to take a look at the Google Drive itself, the different folders, and please suggest some ways to streamline further.
Is the plan to eventually release a standard then with, is that the end deliverable?
It depends on the problem. So it will, like if we need a new standard, then we'll figure that out. But I think that our general approach is to figure out what do we want to do. The problem is more a problem of vision and knowing what we even want. And then once we know what we want, we can generally look at existing standards and augment those. But in a few cases, like the fleet scale memory fault management, there is no standard for that. We got to go figure some things out. So, use standards where we can, and develop new ones where we need them.
Yeah, I would just describe it as best practices, right? We're trying to put together a plan that is, works at scale to be able to manage faults, and ultimately that's what we're doing.
Correct. That's a good way to put it.
I see, so
pasted a link.
document state of the art, but there would be no normative requirements or anything that we would introduce as is done in a standard. So it would be best.
Well, it may be. I mean, it may it depends. It may be if we but who's enforcing what standard? If we get together and say this is how we want PCI config to be, or PCI errors to be configured, it's us. It's what we want. But does Amazon want it? Well, I don't know. They're not here. Maybe they do. Maybe they won't. They may tell the vendors it's something entirely different. So there'll be grades of normative, right? I mean, but maybe if we can agree to things, we'll make it as normative as we can, so that we have less toil and less churn, and we make fewer ways to do things and get the right answer.
Yeah, I have an example, right? One thing we came upon very early was the format of the errors. And we said CPER is a spec, it's out there, it's industry wide, and everybody agreed that should be the format. And so it's done, right? It's a standard. We all agreed. We don't have to rewrite anything. We simply all agreed that CPER should be the format, period.
And there may be some people out there that disagree and aren't going to do it, but at least in this group, if we hear them, we'll pressure them to do CPER. So I agree with you, Mark. And I love that. It's a great example. And it's one of the ones I'm most excited about. I was pushing CPER earlier today.
I think we're about to hear a shaker pretty soon. Vilas went on mute.
Yeah. Vilas is, just so everyone knows, he is here even later than the rest of us. So thank you for staying really late, Vilas.
Today he has to have a big one for Scott, right?
That's right. Yeah. If I known, I would have planned ahead. Happy birthday, Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, happy birthday. Thank you, everyone. This is a great discussion, and I'm excited to see what we can do. I think when we all work together, we're going to be able to change things, and let's see what we can do. I mean, this seems pretty big to me.
Yeah. Yogesh and Dhruv, next week, if you can give me like 10-15 minutes, I would like to go over one of the presentation that I'm planning for OCP to share and get some feedback.
Sounds good to me.
Folks.
Thank you.
Good week. Talk to you later.
Yeah. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thank you too.
Bye.